Alright, welcome back. Now we're going to take some of these motifs and turn them into full melodies. The first one we're going to look at is motif number 1, which is this. So what I want to introduce you to is this technique called presentation, repetition, variation, and destruction. And you'll have seen these, like the basics of it, outlined in this chapter. And I'm going to show you how I work with it in real life now. So let's take this motif. So that's the presentation. Now I can either use a strict repetition of it or a slight variation. I'm going to choose to do a slight variation and go down from A to the G. Otherwise the exact same. So let's record those two first. Now the next part is variation, which I used here again, but I want to show you that every little piece of the motif can be a slight variation. These two are very close, as you can see. But the next one, I want to kind of take it further. I don't want to just repeat the same kind of pattern in the same area again. I want to give the listener a little bit of a surprise, you can say, or make it just evolve a little bit. So I'm going to move it up, as we discussed in the last video, using the rhythmic aspect and parts of the melodic aspect, but move it into a different spot and turn it into this. And then the last part is the destruction, which is we're introduce something that's completely different. And since we have had quite a bit of movement in every part, I just want to end on one note, which is going to make more sense when you hear it in context, especially with a harmony. But let's play the whole thing. So that's basically the melody. I'm just going to record those two final parts of it so you can see it in MIDI as well. And then we can repeat it once more. Let me just consolidate these. Boom, and here you have the whole melody. So you see, this is still the same motif. It has the same kind of steps and the same rhythm. And then at the end, we have the destruction. So you have presentation, kind of repetition, variation, and destruction. All right, let's move over to the next one. Okay, so we have the motif. And I can choose to repeat that just straight up, but I want to give it a slight variation at the end. And one way to do that is to go somewhere higher, to kind of reach a little bit of a peak. So I'm going to go to... Fairly straightforward. Let's just record that. Alright, now this is going to be quite different, because I don't really feel like the natural kind of progression of that melody is to repeat this motif again. Sorry, I'm going to play it again. So what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to introduce a second motif and repeat that twice. But I'm still going to use the same kind of rhythmic core of it. It's going to be the second part. And it's kind of going to be a motif that's a bit the opposite of the first one. The first one is going in an upwards motion. This one is going to be going downwards. as a little answer to this question, you can say. And then I'm going to repeat it twice. Let me record that. All right, let's look at the melody all together. Okay, so that's the basics of that melody. Now, the second motif does not really have any logical rules or things that I went by. It's just based on what I feel is the right thing to do. And here as well, when I introduced something new, I kind of kept it simple. So I just repeated it twice. So this is a different way of writing a melody that can be interesting to know. You don't have to strictly stay to these rules and these structures. You can use them as a starting point and then just go off on a tangent and do your own thing. Now we're going to look at another melody again. Now, let me just take you to the sketch zone and just listen to what it sounds like with just some strings and woodwinds. Alright, so it's a fairly simple melody, and you don't hear the chords and context yet, which I'm excited to show you. I'm just gonna stick to the melody for now, just to have as little distractions as possible. And as you might have noticed that some of the rhythmic parts of this performance is a little bit different, like I added this note before the second phrase. And these are things that I just kind of, improvise when I record based on what I feel a musician would have done. So don't get too hung up in these things. I'm just usually doing what feels right. Let's move over to the third motif here. Sounds like this. Oh, hold on. Let's just go to the piano again. Now I'm just going to go up to 160 to give this a bit more speed and pace compared to the other motifs. So we have, and again, I'm going to repeat most of it the same way, but then give it a little twist at the end. So probably something like this. And you see, this is the same motif I'm just throwing in at the end, just to give it a bit more of a twist, a little bit of a surprise. So let's record that. I'm just going to quantize these fast because the performance was a little bit sloppy, which I just have excuse for. And here again, I feel like this melody needs to go somewhere. But I'm still going to be using the same motif as the building block. So something that I think might be a good fit is to go to as the next part. That it just feels right, and I'm kind of hearing the chords that goes under it as well, which is going to give it a little bit of a twist. But again, I'm going to keep that for a later video. But and maybe at the end as a destruction, just something that kind of resolves and leaves you hanging, and then we go into maybe the next section or the repetition of the melody and something like that. So let me just record what I just have in my mind, and then we can look at what I was doing after. All right, consolidate.